How's it going, trappers? We're in my shed here today, and I thought I'd do a little video for you on the Victor #2 square jaw. This trap is, I consider it to be the Cadillac of blind set mink traps. And I'm gonna kind of go over some of the features about this trap that makes it what I think turns it into the Cadillac, and then I'll show some of the adjustments and modifications that I do to them to make them ultimate Cadillacs, for lack of a better term. Okay, first off, like I said, this is what I'm considering to be the Cadillac Mink blind set foothold. What I'm going to show you here and talk about these features. If you're new to trap or you're just starting out, some of the features that make this trap really good for mink actually make it really poor for, let's say, coyote, raccoon, whatnot. So like I said, keep in mind that this video is pertaining to mink and only mink. The Cadillac blind set mink foothold. Okay, first, one of the features about this trap, and it's important whenever you're, in my opinion, any water trap, because you're going to be in the water, you're going to be cold, you may have gloves or gauntlets on. I think it's important that the trap is easy to set. And a Victor #2 square jaw is very as simple to set really as anything out there. And a lot of the fact makes that fact is many of these traps are quite a few years old. I believe the Victor #2 square jaw showed up in 1938. Now it has a little bit different design. The springs were underneath the levers, but basically the Victor #2 square jaw that we know today was out in the early 40s and really hasn't changed up until the end. It was when it was produced, which would have been in the 80s. So there's a lot of these traps out there. There were a lot made, and you know, due to their age, their springs are getting a little weaker, so that also makes them easy to set. But for mink, we don't need super powerful springs. Mink's a pretty easy animal to hold, and most of the time we're drowning them anyway. So I see a little bit weaker trap that's easier to set as a benefit. For coon, no, it's definitely a negative. But for mink and muskrat, you don't need all that power like you're trying to hold a coyote or a raccoon on land or whatnot. So now that I have this set, as you can see, the Victor #2 has a pretty wide jaw spread. And that's important for a blind set mink trap, in my opinion, because in the fall of the year, you're going to have water, and winter, you're going to have water going up and down. And, you know, for blind set mink, you know, sometimes you're actually setting for a mink that's swimming. And maybe the water level goes up a little bit and your trap's under more water than you'd like. That jaw spread will help you get a much better hold than if you had a real narrow jaw spread trap. So a wide jaw spread is in my opinion, a good feature. For a blind set mink trap, it grabs the animal up pretty high. Now I want to explain something here, or bring something to your attention. Most of the square jaw Victor #2s on the market have a 5 5/8 inch jaw spread. Okay? But you often hear trappers talk about at tailgating events or whatnot, and when they're talking about the #2 Victor, there was a jaw tip in model and a jaw tip out model. The jaw tip out model is how most of the traps are on the market. As you can see, the jaw tips protrude out from the frame. But a few years in the 70s, Victor made a jaw tip in model. There you can see they actually bend and they protrude inwards into the frame. So the difference in these two traps, and I'm going to just say right now, I think the jaw tip out model is a little, not that this isn't a bad trap, but I like the jaw tip out model a little better for mink. And the first reason for that is, remember I said the jaw tip out model was 5 5/8. Well, the jaw tip in model is only about 5 1/4. So you're sacrificing a little bit of jaw spread. Oops, sorry about that. Now, I'll show you this here. The jaw tip out model, because of the wider jaw spread, it makes the point at which the dog encounters the power jaw closer to the eye, closer to the dog eye, okay? Whereas when you have less of a jaw spread on this jaw tip in model, you can see it's further away. That pivot point is further away. That actually adds a little bit of tension to this trap, and it makes it a little bit harder to set. You don't have the leverage. You don't have as much of that lever to push down. Well, it's actually the dog, but in mechanics terms, it would be considered a lever. You don't have the length of that to push down with this trap as you would with this trap. But that being said, the jaw tip in Victor number 2 is not a bad mink trap at all. It's actually pretty darn good. I have quite a few of them. And if you're, digging through the tailgater section looking for used traps and you find jaw tip in models, don't hesitate 1 minute to buy them, because you're going to be happy with them. They're a good model. It's just, I think the jaw tip out model is just a touch better. That has a Barker's mink pan on it. I did another video a while back to show how to install them. And mink pans, more or less, are just mink trappers use them to increase the surface area, have a better chance of that mink small foot making contact with the pan, whether they're swimming or walking or whatnot. It's an important feature for a blind set trap. All right. We just got done talking about the jaw spread, but the Victor number 2 square jaw, the actual square jaw itself, I feel, is an important attribute for mink trapping. We always try to set blind set mink traps that the animal passes between the jaws as opposed to over them. Now, if you can envision a mink swimming along and he hits this pan and sets this trap off with his forward stroke of his front foot, and say you have a little bit of water, say the water went up a little bit that last night, that square jaw, you're getting the maximum spread all the way the width of that trap. So as opposed to a round jaw, your maximum spread is right in the middle. With a square jaw, you have that maximum spread that you're taking advantage of over just about most of the width of the trap. So, being a square jaw with a wide jaw spread, I think is important. It ups your chances a little bit on rising water conditions, and it might catch a mink for you that otherwise would be towed or missed. So wide jaw spread and square jaw, utilizing that jaw spread over the whole width of the trap. Okay, another little small feature. Victor number 2 has a flat base and their sides swiveled. If we're setting on in bridge situations where you may have to set on concrete, or I like to build up rocks to make top edge sets, that flat base works really well to set on those hard surface situations. So that's another benefit. There's a lot of traps out there that are side swivel with a flat base, but it's just one other feature that makes the Victor number 2 what I feel the Cadillac. The trap is also, because it's bigger than, say, a number 1 long spring, there's more steel in it. The trap is heavier. And when we're trapping mink and even muskrat, we want the animal to get down really fast, out of sight and drown. So predators like owls, hawks, and raccoons and whatnot don't tear up the animal. And if people come by, we don't want an animal on the bank alive in a trap that the people can see and maybe steal it. So a good heavy trap gets them to the bottom quicker, gets them out of sight. Now, there's some features that you might not have really thought about with a Victor number 2, but these two design features really lend this trap well to adding a mink pan, like I talked about. That Barker was on that jaw tip in that I just showed. A Victor number 2 square jaw has low levers, and in trapping circles, a lot of people say low levers are a huge negative, especially when guys talk about coyote traps. So they talk about the low lever and the high lever Montgomerys. The higher the levers go, the better it helps to lock those jaws in and hold a hard-fighting animal like a coyote. Now, the Victor number 2 has relatively low levers. And also, it has a pretty wide spring pin. The springs are pretty far apart, which makes actually the lever pivot point quite far apart as well. So what this wider spring pin and these low levers do, it allows you to add a pretty large mink pan. Now this here is what I would consider the Cadillac blind set mink trap. It's a Victor number 2 square jaw. Jaw tips out for the maximum jaw spread, square jaw, so you're utilizing that jaw spread along the whole width of the trap. And to increase your chances of getting a mink to make contact with that pan, I've added this mink pan. This is a Wild River number 2 Victor square jaw mink pan made by Mike Kelly. It's a single post. There's actually 2 brass washers that go on either side of the pan, and you just put the screw back in like you would a regular style pan. But this pan fires with very little tension, and it has wide surface area, which is exactly what you're looking for in a mink trap. It's very easy to see. It's also very easy to see how much of the notch your dog is engaged in, because you're really looking at half of the dog there. These are, in my opinion, the best mink pans on the market today. They're one of the pricier mink pans on the market, but if you want to truly make a Cadillac mink trap, they're definitely the way to go. These, like I said, they increase the area, the surface area, kill area really nicely, and they really go off with minimal pressure, which is exactly what you're looking for in a mink trap. I also added number 2 machine chain and just just a swivel at the end that I can hook up an extension chain or whatnot to. Last thing I want to talk about is, that really pertains, in my opinion, mink traps. You can see this is a pretty black, dyed black trap and wax. But wax on a mink trap is crucial, in my opinion. You need that wax on there to keep the pan tension down and to keep everything working smoothly. Any trap that I'm going to set in the water for mink is going to be waxed. So there you have it. My ultimate Cadillac blind set mink trap right there. Not a very good coon trap. Pretty much useless on land, you could say. But for mink, I don't think there's anything better, especially on the market today, than these old square jaw number 2 Victors. If you have any questions on this trap, or how I anything about these pans and whatnot, I'll probably put a link down below on where to purchase these pans. But any questions, just feel free to comment. And good luck on your mink line this year, trappers. Have a good one.